There's no by becoming rich.
Take all your money, buy Bitcoin.
You can wake up every morning and say GM.
GM. Welcome to Daily Levels for Wednesday the 14th of August. G fucking M. And welcome to the Flip Flop Central. Been online and I've seen a lot of this over the last few days on Twitter. And yesterday, seeing people crawl back out of their caves and say, "Ooh, well, looks like we're bullish again," you know, some form of that type of attitude. Which is not to say that we can't be, but it's just the same thing. You know, you have a move up, people are like, "Wait, what? Are we back?" And then you pull back and like, "Oh no, we're going to zero," and then you bounce up again, and suddenly people feel comfortable and confident again to post online. This is a good. It's not really objective. You can't necessarily use it to place trades, but it's quite easy to see. You know, I could read Twitter and know roughly where price is, and it's not because people are necessarily bad traders or investors. It's because the social pressure. And so if someone, like, I follow a bunch of whatever, like trader accounts, macro accounts, stock market accounts, all these type of ones. And what they tend to do, especially the ones who have like a lot of interviews or podcasts, whatever like that, they tend to really sit on the fence. And they won't want to post about how they see anything bullish or that it's a good area to probabilistically to buy or whatever until it starts to look better. And I just saw it. I could see the threads, my algo, my newsfeed from Monday when it was at the lows and it was looking like it was going to lose 58 to yesterday because we pushed up to 61.5. Suddenly there's all these posts about looking ahead and CPI is going to be good and September look forward to and look at the liquidity is going to rise and blah, blah, blah. I was like, fucking just flip-flop central. So, anyway. Point is, I will not buy on the way up unless there's confirmation. Because all this is, to me, is just a bearish retest initially. And to at least go back to the lows here. And if it is going to go, if it's not going to go any lower than that, I still think it comes back down once. Because people are going to buy into the range high. So more specifically, it probably pushes a little bit more than here. They buy into the range high, it drops back, and then it moves from there. And we go higher anyway. But even still, bad place to buy. And you probably get one more attempt at support. Or, which I think is possible as well, this whole thing just falls back into a higher low, and then we grind up from there. Because the same thing happens again. People get super excited about the next big massive breakout. It's coming. Oh my God, this is time. Drop back down, spend the rest of August consolidating, put in a proper higher low where people think it can't go, and then we go up. This is how I'm viewing it currently. That can all change. I think in the immediate term, we can definitely go higher, right? Bitcoin can absolutely push further. There's plenty of room for it to go up and trap people and drop back. Nothing yet that really makes me want to buy. The one thing that will make me buy is if the daily bands go green, as that's one signal I'm waiting on. There is a chance as well that that's going to be a bad time to buy because it might squeeze above them and then flush back lower. That is unfortunately, you know, a possibility, but I won't override it. I will still re-enter if the bands are green there. I'm hoping though that we see something more like a pullback before then. And I think that all of this move here, and we're going into CPI today, inflation numbers, I think it's going to take out these highs. And I think that's going to get people excited. And I think that's when we can drop back. And then we probably do something like this. And we put in a proper low. And just more of a grinding, slow retracement back down as people once again fool themselves into getting long too soon in what is just a consolidation. It's not even a consolidation. It's a bearish chart, right? But a lot of talk of this stuff, like people are calling this like, oh, we reclaimed range lows. That's not range low. There's a difference. That's not reclaiming range low. That's making a lower high and a lower low and then coming back inside it. That's what that is. It's doing this. There is no range low. There is no range. Where's the range? There? Nope. There? Nope. There? Nope. There? No, it's not a range. There's also no range high. Keeps making lows. Low, low, low. So it's not a range. It's literally the fucking dumbest thing. I see this I've seen like 4 or 5 posts on Twitter. It's not a range. These are not range lows. That was a lower low after a lower high, after a lower low, after a lower high. Right? And we have another lower high, and another lower low. So, no, it's not range lows. And a couple other things I saw was since we are only at 60 and we've reclaimed the range lows, it's much more likely that we go towards 67. This was one of the exact posts I saw. And it was, I think we are more likely to go to 67 if we break out above 62. And because we reclaimed the range lows, I'm like, well, wait a minute, what the fuck? Just basic, right? If you call that range low, which is not, and you call that the target, what fuck kind of trade is that? It's all just trying to justify bad entries, FOMO entries. Same thing again, right? And again, this whole thing could easily be the bottom could be in. We might be going to the moon. It doesn't have to be binary, bullish or bearish, right? It's not like I'm saying fucking we'll have to go to 44 or anything like that. I'm just saying, why does this one stupid little candle here suddenly make everyone's heads fall off and think, holy shit, have I missed the bottom again for the millionth time? No, you probably haven't missed the bottom. But if you have, then there'll be more consolidation, right? Now, I want you to think about this. All the way since the bottom, let's think about different areas where people are starting to FOMO, right? Some people, very few, but some will have FOMOed into this move here, right? This strong pump off the lows. Some people are like, holy shit, that could be the bottom. And they start buying. And their stop loss goes, let's call it at the lows, right? And so I'll put the stops in red. And so they got away with it. So anyone who FOMOed in on that candle got away with it. And then the market goes on up. And what happens is people do not consider, just like yesterday, I see these threads coming out here again because Bitcoin just pushed above a very weak Monday high. Didn't even take Sunday's high. Not even to mention the actual high of the swing. It literally just pumped up, fucking 3%, 2%. But that shows people will, at each step along the way, after all this bearishness, people will start to think, wait a minute, is it bullish? At different levels, different areas. After this drop down here, some people will have said, holy shit, when that reversed there, or here. This is really the same thing. Whether it's here or here, it doesn't really matter, because the area that you would say would be the bottom then would be here. And the whole point is that when people think the bottom's in, or they think it's going to go higher, if someone's buying there or buying here, they just don't put their stop there. This is just how the market works. The reason why we see so many of these liquidity sweeps is people use too much leverage. And it's really simple. If you thought that was the reversal that confirmed the bottom, which it could be, you would have to say the bottom. So it'd be there. That's 17% lower. That doesn't allow people to use leverage. Right? And this is the problem. People are trying to make back all the money they lost, getting chopped to death in this range for 6 months. And the average, dumb money doesn't look at a trade in terms of probabilities. They look at just returns. They don't look at risk. They just look at the return side. And so they wouldn't put their stop loss here because they're too obsessed with returns. Because look at this. Well, wait a minute. Even if it goes to all-time highs, 1.39, that's no good. Because all they care about is returns, not risk. It's like, wait a minute. If I just put my stop there, then it gets better. And if I put my stop there below the bands, that's it. It gets even better. And all they care about is how much better it can get. Without doing any testing, no idea about whether that actually improves or reduces the expectancy of the system. None of that. So we know where stops are going to be sitting for many of these participants. And my point is simply, with enough patience, I don't believe that we're going to go all the way to new all-time highs and above without taking out some of these people. Now, That could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. But I have contingency plans for that as well. Buying higher doesn't bother me. We can buy higher. It's fine. And same thing, obviously, more people with FOMO here again. And then same thing over here on that pump there. So as it looked like it was bad or potentially going to go lower, then it reclaims, pushes above, and now we're up here. And of course, if today we get a breakout, we've got a nice little tight consolidation going here. Maybe there's going to be a wick down into CPI, but then probably take out the highs. I'll talk about that more in trade of the day. People will be there, and some, especially if it takes these highs, people will say, oh, now that's the bottom. And all I'm looking at is, now I imagine a few different paths. So do I think it's more likely? Because by the way, one of the reasons why continued patience will very, very likely pay off in terms of getting you a better entry is that you just wait for people to get themselves in at worse and worse positions. I want you to think about a couple of things. People who bought into this pump on FOMO, people who FOMO'd in here, have not been punished yet. It hasn't even retraced back to 56. Like, it hasn't even gone to that first low. Only people who FOMO'd in there and put their stop there, they're gone. But that's like super high leverage. Anyone who FOMO'd back in here, like bought a bunch of spot, is almost back at break even already. So they haven't even been tested yet. Never mind people who bought, or in from lower or in from some of the previous moves. And not to mention these ones. The point being, nobody thinks the bull market's over, right? They might say it in emotion when it's down here. But every time it bounces, what happens? What changes? You start to see the positive threads come out, the positive posts come out. People are now talking about memes and picking out the best meme coins and picking out the next risk-on move. While everything, except maybe Bitcoin does have the best chart, like I would say overall. It's decent. Obviously still below the bands, but it's decent. It's better than Total 3, right? Which is total shit. It's better than ETH, which is going... It can go higher for a bearish retest. And so on and so on and so on, right? And which chart was that? Was that Bitcoin? Was it Bybit spot chart? No. Which one was that on? Too many fucking charts. I think it was maybe Bitstamp. No. Oh well. Guess I've lost the chart. So many fucking charts. It wasn't definitely wasn't this one, was it? No. We'll get it soon enough. There can't be that many. It was OKX. No. Fuck's sake. This one? Nope. This one? Nope. This one? Nope. Oh, man. Anyway. I guess. Oh, it was Kraken, wasn't it? There we go. Finally. There should just be one Bitcoin chart. Anyway. So it's the same, like it's the same old story. Buying into bearish retests. At least, again, not saying it definitely is. I don't have a crystal ball. Not saying it is definitely a bearish retest. But there's a difference. Like, this can be a failed retest initially, fall back, higher low, and overall not be bearish at all, right? Just be a higher low. But in the short term, people who are badly positioned here and here and here and here and here, if it goes above the highs, can all just get a simple pullback, can take them all out before we end up going higher. Given the fact that we're in August, the rate cut that everyone's waiting on doesn't come till 18th of September, and there's plenty of room for retests. I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility at all. It's also coming back to this area where you're thinking about getting back in. And I've been thinking the same. So I sold my Bitcoin at 63 because I was worried about that crash. Crash happened. And so ever since the crash happened, I was like, okay, where do I get back in? The problem, or so the difference is, I don't have to get back in. I want to. I think I will. I do think it's most likely Bitcoin will go higher at some point. But this thing of, oh, you need to get back in because why? There's no confirmations yet for me on my system. And the narrative I still see online is, as soon as it bounces enough off the lows, people are like, okay, let's have another crack at it. Let's hope this is the bottom. And it's just hoping. It all comes from what I think is a faulty assumption. It all comes from a faulty assumption that the market just has to go up again in this very narrow time frame that people want it to. It doesn't. There's nothing to stop Bitcoin from spending much longer here and still not being bearish, right? Could go up, could go down, could go up, volatility could dry up, could go down, hold, and then we rise up. And that is, not something that is alien to this market at all. It happens. It doesn't have to happen, by the way, because obviously nothing has to happen on any kind of time frame that I want it to. But retests are a key feature of these markets, right? It moves down, rallies up, it retests, it forms a low. You had it in, obviously, the FTX lows as well. Down, rallied up. There's your first rally. By the way, this, not that the price action is the exact same over here versus here, although it's similar, right? Let me get over here. It's not dissimilar, right? If you're looking at these 2 4-hour charts. And the reason I pulled this one out is because this was CPI as well. So Bitcoin come off the lows into this consolidation, bit like this consolidation. We'll just take away all this shit here, right? Consolidation, pumped up. You know what that was? CPI. Remember it. 14th of December, CPI. I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday that was the exact CPI, but it was that week. Pumped into CPI, flushed out the short-term players, back down, 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 more consolidation, then it moves. It's the exact same thing. If you're here, right, tell me how these don't look very similar in their structure in terms of it's rising off the lows. It's got a low and a higher low, low and a higher low, sets consolidation, it's going to break out. Oh shit, it's going to break out. We're going to miss out, aren't we? No, you're not going to miss out. But people will come in and put their stops here as it breaks out, and, all the way along here and then there. And I don't think these ones get hit, but these two do. And as it fails to go out there, it comes down, takes out those short-term positions that were badly positioned and really just couldn't wait for some kind of retest. And then the market recovers, goes sideways, sets a higher low, and away it goes, right? Not that it will. I'm the first person to say this is not going to happen because it happened before. Fractals don't play out like that. But the idea of rushing in and not being able to wait, the first bounce off the lows, quite often people take profit on it and it comes back for retest, right? The first bounce off the lows eventually tops out, comes back for retest. Whether it's bearish or bullish, retests tend to happen over here. First bounce, retest, retest, retest. And especially this one in 2021, where you had your collapse and you had a couple of different rallies and price came back and retested before the lows actually formed. I'm still fully of the belief that that's what we're looking at, because I don't see this as a range low reclaim. I really don't, because I don't see it as a range. I've never seen a range that was a widening mouth, right? Which means this, it's widening. That's what Bitcoin's doing. Well, actually, it's actually doing lower highs and a widening mouth like that. That's Bitcoin. That's not a range, right? That's widening out, widening. So for me, it's not a range. Therefore, it's just a bounce into inefficiency. And I think it'll hit some form of resistance, probably if it tries to push higher. And then it'll drop back for some kind of retest. Assuming it doesn't go lower, it'll probably come in for some kind of higher low. And that's the one to watch. Because most of what's happening here is people trying to convince themselves to buy at an area that is not really asymmetric in their risk reward. It's not a good place to get long, because look, if you're getting long here, especially here, right? If you're getting long here, you're saying that there's no way the market goes there. That's implicitly what you're saying, right? Because if you think the market can go there, then why aren't you waiting for the market to just go there? At least. You're also saying it can't go here, and it can't go here, and it definitely can't go there. So what data, what price action, what positioning, what flows would tell you that can't go there? I don't have confidence that it can't go there. I think it can go here quite easily. So I would be of the view of waiting and just being patient. Also with the understanding that this can go way higher first. So on a day trading basis or short-term basis, I'll still look for longs on some of these momentum moves if they present, because it can go higher for sure, and it can do the same thing and just squeeze up and look like it's not going to pull back and then still pull back. It does not have to pull back today. It probably won't. It doesn't have to sweep the highs and pull back like this like I want. It does not have to move in any way that I want it to. But I do know that most likely the market is, people who are either forced out of the market here or sold are looking for reasons to get back in rather than actually waiting for something objective. And to me, that's a risky game because there's no logic behind it, right? It's just, I want to get back in because I think it's going to go higher because it should, because all I've heard is that it's a bull market and Bitcoin and election and money printing. Yeah, sure. But it's been the same thing since March. And everyone who has used that logic since March has been wrong over and over and over and over again. And if you always try and catch the bottom on every single bounce, eventually you will. But if you've lost like 5 in a row and then you win the 6th one, great. You might make some of your money back, but it's not a great way to trade, right? Long term. So, patience for me. Bitcoin and stocks, because obviously Bitcoin is moving pretty much just in tow with the S&P at the moment, at least to a very close degree during the sessions, to where stock market rally and the crypto rally are mirroring each other pretty much, right? Bitcoin had its impulse candle there. S&P obviously doesn't open on the weekends, and it's moved up slightly higher here, but it's just moving up into a retest. It's had a inefficient move down. It's filling in that gap. Again, if it's able to hold and reclaim its own bands and start to move higher, that looks good, that looks better, but there's loads of room for pullback here. You've had 1, 2, 3, 4. You've had 4 uninterrupted green days in a row on the S&P with no pullback. And maybe this just grinds and moves all the way. It could also go all the way to the highs, which would definitely allow crypto to go higher. Because you look at this pre-election move that we talk about, where it probably won't break out until after the election. That's this typical pre-election moves you see, which could see it grind all the way up to highs, pull all the way back, move all the way up, and then after the election, it goes and moons. That would be like textbook what it's done for the last 20 years, pretty much, except for 2000 and 2008, where it was bearish. Most election years do something like this, where it stays in this area until the election and then breaks out after. So I'm not letting the short-term swings of, people's bias and opinions and emotions really affect my own trades. I don't see enough support below to take a position, right? Because if I went long here, I would have confidence this might not get hit, right? Anyone who's getting long here must be saying there's no way we go to 49. I think that's fair enough. But I don't think that we can't go to 56 or 53 or 50, whatever, back down. I think we can go there for sure. So it would just be a bad entry. Like I said, if we consolidate and hold and the bands go green, that'll be a sign for sure. That'll be something that'll get me in. And, if it goes back down and loses the bands and they go red again, I'll be back out. And then when the bands go green again, I'll be back in. It might be that, because that's what happens. Sometimes it's choppy. Sometimes you have, bands go green, it fakes you out, and they go red, and they go green again, and then you just have to take a couple of entries. Sometimes that happens. Other times it's just clean. But I'm looking at these moves up, moves above that can quite often set up, drops back below. And overall, I think the market is just most likely building up some liquidity to then go and retest below. Stops are building on both sides of this. There's stops below 57. There's stops above 63. I think they'll both get hit. I think the market probably spends the rest of August in some kind of consolidation. And maybe September is when it starts to move higher. I also think that it is interesting, there's definitely enough, there's easily enough, just with the money that's in the market, we can easily go to these highs. Right? Bitcoin has been able to bounce to 72 and 71 and 70, and it can bounce again. Like, there's plenty of liquidity that gets grabbed and it can rally up without being like bullish yet. So it can go higher. I'm not saying like 60 or 61 is a good place to short. Absolutely not. Not from any higher time frame view. If we took out those highs and came back inside, like if we went above 63 and then back below those bands and started to lose 59, 58, shorts are on the table. But I think that most likely patience will pay here. So today and then the rest of the week. So Wednesday CPI, and then Thursday, Friday as we go towards the end of the week. I think it will still be mostly short-term moves. Positioning will be choppy, and that will lead us then towards something like more of a base being built going into next week. And ETH, ETH has been kind of building and building and building up, and is still just fully bearish. Bands are fully bearish. Has not even retested the breakdown level yet. So it's like, oh, it looks great. Well, I guess so, except if you zoom out, it's not great, right? It's had a very, very significant breakdown. And like the last time ETH broke its range was over here. ETH broke these lows back in August of last year, and then it rallied into bands, and then it spent 2 months consolidating on them. And so it broke its range, and it's rallying into the bands. What if ETH just spends 2 months consolidating? Then you can just wait until here or here, until there's some more signs that it doesn't want to go lower. I want to see these charts try to go lower. It's not saying, oh, this has to go lower. I don't care if it goes lower. Maybe the bottom's in. But I would like to see it attempt, whether it's from here and it attempts to go lower, whether it's from here and it attempts to go lower, whether it's from higher and attempts. There has to be some attempt to pull back after this initial rally. Otherwise, it's just that same trappy price action, like here. Rallied all the way up, looks great, oh my god, it's not going to pull back, pulls back, and then just flushes. So, yeah, that's me. That's it now. In total 3, same thing. If you're looking at just your altcoins as a whole, moving into a retest of the bands. Again, this is not a range, this is a downtrend. So this isn't a range low reclaim. It is basically a leverage flush into support. Good. That's a good area for it to stop at. And it's moving up. But until it clears that, right, if it's going to do that, it would have to clear that level, pull back, form a higher low, and do that. And I would rather buy into alts there when they've shown breaking up above. So finally shifting this from downtrend, lower high, lower high, lower high to actually, higher high, higher low, higher high. Boom, there we go, uptrend. Not buying into a downtrend on altcoins whenever Bitcoin will tend to go first anyway. So that's where I'm looking at it. And same thing, like these can be very long and drawn out. This is the whole 2022 of altcoins. What were they doing? Low, lower high, and then a lower low, and then you had a high before that here, which wasn't technically a lower high because it didn't make a lower low there, but then it goes lower again, comes all the way up to here and here, does not break above that previous high, comes all the way back down, doesn't make a new low, but spends what, like 6 months, 8 months, 10 months of more consolidation, then you get your shift. That's when it actually shifted. That's when market structure shifted back towards bulls. What happens? Then we get this nice uninterrupted rally. And if you're able to, at least the goal with alts is spend as little time as possible in the position. And if you're able to capture that, that's all you care about on alts. You want to not be in any of this as a trade. Because why would you want to hold it through all that? Now, that's different to trading the rallies, right? If you're able to trade these rallies, that's also fine. It was absolutely oversold, oversold, oversold. And you got a nice rally up into inefficiencies. That's fine as well. And the market can do that here, which is why we can definitely still go higher. Just up to there as a retest. It can easily still do that and then fall back. That's not a reason to buy and hold altcoins long term. That's a reason to maybe be long on a short term basis, which doesn't quite interest me at this point. I'm next interested in alts when Bitcoin breaks all-time high, really. Because if it doesn't, then what's the point? Bitcoin should break and go to new highs to confirm we are having another leg of bull, and that's when altcoin positioning will be the best for going higher. And you can also look at this in a really simple way. Just go to the 4-hour trend. So Bitcoin 4-hour trend is over here, and it's still bearish, right? We're below the bands, 50, 100, 200 in bearish formation. Now it's looking good. This is the best possible thing you could see, is that it's hitting into them, it tries to lose them, it's back inside, it's compressing. It might get back above them, they might start to cross and flip back to bullish. That's good. But currently they're not. And so people are like, again, trying to position for bigger trends. Oh, we're going to 100k or whatever. Yeah, but you're trying to position for the bigger trend before the trend is even flipped, before there's any actual confirmation. And that can be an area just where you're buying into bearish retests, right? Many of these bearish retests over here, bands are still red, bands are still bearish. Even here, when they were starting to cross, we still went below them. Then they crossed, and then you still had like a month to get positioned on these trades before it went higher. So for me, there's no rush. Absolutely no rush. Sol probably has a better 4-hour setup. No, not really actually. It was stronger before, it had a nicer bounce, but still, bands are all bearish in bearish formation. You know, it's broken down off the highs and it's consolidating. It can come up. Like, the biggest traps you see are going to be to the upside. Of course it can squeeze up like that, and like, holy shit, that's it. But then you have to be aware, this is what happens on those moves, right? If you're trading just when it looks good, holy shit, this is the big... No, then it comes back down. Takes out the lows, back inside. There are so many retests. There's so many false rallies. This is not a market that's going to rise nice and easily and slowly, because the last few months have really shifted everybody into a hoping mindset of this must be a bull market. So even though the sentiment gets really bad when it crashes, as soon as it comes off the lows, you're like, wait, is this it again? Okay, this is my chance now to make my money back. And the impatient will get bled out and the patient will take over. So that's where I think we're at. That's it, GM. See you later. Live stream at 4 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. 2 live streams today. Ask Michael and Wipeout Wednesday. And I will break down on Trade of the Day what to do around the Bitcoin CPI, the inflation numbers. GM.